From the Massachusetts Broadcasters Station of the Year, this is Western Mass News at 6 p.m.
Protests have broken out nationwide following the death of George Floyd. And right here in Western Mass, hundreds marched today from Sheldon Field to the Northampton Police Department. State police on the scene as many chanted their way through the street. Good Monday evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Western Mass News at 6. I'm Pisano. That demonstration in Northampton just wrapping up minutes ago. And we have team coverage for you tonight as protests continue across the country and locally, sparked by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo spoke with the president of the Greater Springfield NAACP about the protests, and she joins us now live with more. Audrey?
Now, if you've been following us since 5:30, you can see that the scene behind me looks a lot different than it did even just a half hour ago. Protesters were concentrated in that area through the parking garage, having a dialogue with police and asking them to take a knee, and it appears as though they have. Protesters tell us that they witnessed the officers in this parking garage take a knee, and then shortly after that time, the protesters began to disperse from that area. Very peaceful from what we could see, but of course, looking at the images out of Boston from this weekend, a little bit of a different story there. I spoke with the president of the Greater Springfield NAACP, who says that the anger and the unrest comes from years of systemic racism.
When people riot, it's because that they really think they need to be heard.
Local protesters say the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis brings the issue of police brutality against people of color to the forefront once again. Floyd died after a police officer held a knee on the man's neck for several minutes, an interaction captured on camera and seen by millions.
What goes through the minds of most black people is, here we go again. Here's another black person who has not been tried, who has not been convicted of any crime, who has lost their life in an extrajudicial murder.
The head of the Greater Springfield NAACP, Bishop Talbert Swan, spoke with Western Mass News over the phone. As protests continue throughout the country, Swan says Floyd's death is one of many that have angered the community.
The murder of George Floyd was just a spark that lit a powder keg that had already been brewing and filled with the kerosene of white supremacy in America.
Some violence has occurred during and after protests, like these images captured in Boston over the weekend. Swan says one shouldn't condemn the response without also condemning the act that sparked it.
If you never raised your voice in condemnation of the extrajudicial murder of black people, if you never raised your voice in condemnation of police brutality and abuse of authority, then you ought to be silent when it comes to giving your opinion about the reaction of those who are frustrated and angry about a system that has not heard their pleas for justice.
Swan says society must develop no tolerance for police brutality for change to happen.
They have to develop a no tolerance for it, and they have to weed out those within the criminal injustice system that are hell-bent on protecting the perpetrators of these kinds of crimes.
Now, over the weekend, Boston police say that 21 of their cars were damaged and that more than 40 people were placed under arrest. Last Friday, Springfield's demonstration yielded no arrests and no damage, and we're continuing to follow the situation here in Northampton. Live in Northampton, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thank you for that live report, and we continue our team coverage tonight. Springfield city leaders speaking out after yesterday's violent protests in Boston over the death of George Floyd. Western Mass News reporter Sarah Granelli joins us in Springfield with what they had to say. Sarah?
Chris, I spoke with the police commissioner who says her officers are under immense pressure, not just dealing with the pandemic, but also being in the public eye. Springfield Police Commissioner Cheryl Clapprood and Mayor Dominic Sarno are standing together, condemning the acts of the Minneapolis police officers resulting in the death of George Floyd.
Both she and I are angry, very angry what occurred to George Floyd. It was atrocious.
Commissioner Clapper tells Western Mass News that officers in the Springfield Police Department went through a program in the academy to teach them it's okay to speak up.
What it is ethical policing is courageous, and it teaches officers that it's okay to go to a supervisor or someone else and say, look, I don't think my partner's actions were correct. Here's what happened, or I notice a change in behavior in my partner.
When asked about police brutality in Springfield, the commissioner says the department has had issues in the past, but as of this year,
our complaints overall as far as brutality are way down.
Mayor Sarno saying he will always make sure the community and the police department are working together.
Am I perfect? Is Commissioner Clapper perfect? Is the police department perfect? No. I'll be the first one to stand up for our men and brave and dedicated men and women in blue. But if there's something wrong, we will deal with it. I mean, what happened to George Floyd?
And tomorrow on the steps of City Hall, the mayor and the commissioner will host a vigil for George Floyd, including peace leaders in the community. Now that is at 5, and if you would like to come, the city just asked for you to remain socially distanced during the vigil. Live in Springfield, Sarah Gurnelli, Western Mass News.
Sarah, thank you for that live report. And Governor Charlie Baker giving his remarks regarding the violent protest that happened overnight in Boston. Governor Baker describing the individuals who damaged the city as criminals and cowards. Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis live for us in downtown Springfield with more on that. Leon?
Chris, at least 7 officers were transported to the hospital. Many were treated on scene. 21 police cruisers were damaged and over 50 people were arrested. Now, there were 2 protests in Boston on Sunday, and things really turned violent as night fell, with the state police holding a perimeter around the State House for hours. Governor Charlie Baker says he is hoping those who caused the damage will be prosecuted.
To the criminals and cowards that tarnished that night's peaceful protest, I expect your day in court will come soon. The destruction of property, the looting, the criminal attempts to injure law enforcement are unacceptable. The people of Massachusetts cannot let these individuals succeed in their goal to sow chaos into the fabric of what is an important effort and movement.
Massachusetts State Police will assist Boston Police tonight to help them maintain order and prevent crime. State troopers will also be at the State House and across the state to help local police officers respond to violent protests. Live in Springfield, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Leon, thank you for that live report. Turning our attention now to the coronavirus pandemic. Hampden County Sheriff Nick Kochi saying after testing everyone in custody at the Hampden County Jail in Ludlow, 2% of that population did test positive for COVID-19. The sheriff says that equals 12 active cases out of the 614 people tested. He says that is much lower than the state's rate of 16%. Sheriff Kochi says the low number is due to the medically advised protocol the jail's been following. The testing of the jail's inmates comes after the facility's first positive cases appeared last week. A major bump in numbers today from the state as officials say they're now complying with the CDC, which reports both confirmed and likely cases and deaths due to COVID-19. There have now been nearly 600,000 tests performed and 3,840 new cases reported today. That includes 326 confirmed cases and 3,514 probable cases. There are a total of 7,035 deaths reported, with 189 new deaths reported today, and that includes 48 new deaths confirmed among cases and 141 among probable cases. Now, for more coverage on the coronavirus emergency as it develops, log on to our free Western Mass News streaming app. Today marks 9 years since the June 1st tornado devastated parts of Western Mass, and Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno observing a moment of silence this afternoon at exactly 4:38, which is the time the tornado crossed the Connecticut River and hit the city. 3 people died in Western Mass from that tornado, which stretched across 37 miles and caused tens of millions of dollars in damage.
A crazy day for sure, but on this June 1st, we're actually talking about record cold temperatures this morning. In fact, we did tie the record low of 34 set at Westover back in 1967. So after that chilly start, temperatures today have been stuck in the 60s. We've got some showers coming through now, though they are very light. We have a lot of dry air in place, so not all of this is reaching the ground, or it's not looking maybe as heavy as the radar is indicating. But we do have some sprinkles, maybe a few light showers around as this upper level disturbance passes by. And we've also got some breaks of sun, so it's not completely overcast. It gets cloudy for a while, and then the sunshine kind of breaks through a bit. We're down to 61 degrees. Dew point has come up just a little bit with the showers. North-northwest wind at 15 miles an hour, and that's where the chill really is coming in. And temperatures are only in the middle 50s in North Adams, getting out toward Pittsfield. Cummington's only at 51, so the breeze is making it feel even cooler. Something I did for the first time in my life this past weekend, I went to a drive-in. It was pretty cool. And if you're planning on going, which I know many people are trying to find spots to do, might see another round of showers toward 10, 11 o'clock. It is going to be chilly. Make sure that you have the blankets ready to go. And then overnight, we will drop back down into the 40s. This should be changed to middle 40s. That's where we'll be early tomorrow morning. And then a nice warm up as we get back into the middle 70s. But we do have a lot of clouds, and there is the chance for some showers tomorrow night. More on that in a few minutes. Chris?
Janna, thank you. New at 6, one person has died after a crash in Holyoke from this morning. Police were called to that scene in the area of Westfield Road at Homestead Ave just after 10:30. They say a male driver hit 2 parked vehicles. He was taken to the hospital where he was later pronounced dead. The state police crash team now investigating. Coming up after this break on this Monday night, we'll be breaking down the details of tonight's big debate happening right here at Western Mass News. We'll tell you what to expect next. And with casinos reopening in Connecticut, what to expect for them and the people who go to them.